Well, what a year it has been. A year ago, I could barely leave the house. I wasn't washing, didn't really care what I looked like, missing friends, weddings, family functions. I just didn't know what to do with myself. I was just feeling so ill with depression. My mum suggested that I start writing, so I started writing a blog, which was predominantly about beauty products because I thought if I was writing about them, I was more likely to use them and sort of get out of the place I was in where I just wasn't really, my personal hygiene was non-existent. As my blog progressed, I started writing about my depression. It was a big decision, which took a long time or a lot of courage. But in the end, it was the best thing I ever did, because talking about it showed me that there are lots and lots of people out there who were feeling the same way that I was. In March, I wrote a blog post called Stigma Schmigma, which was about the stigma of depression, how it affected me, and how I think that it affects a lot of people. I was overwhelmed with responses, mostly from women on the blog, but I had received a lot of emails and DMs on Twitter from men too, which got the cog in my brain working and thinking that there needed to be some place where people could offload and talk to others. So I came up with the idea that there needed to be a mentoring scheme where people could, if they were frightened to leave the house, they could just send an email to someone, have someone listen to them, respond. Men, women, old, young, everybody. So that was the idea. That was the idea. And then I needed a name. So my husband came up with the idea for Blurt, because when I was really, really ill, I didn't know what I was thinking. So he just used to ask me to blurt out anything and would try and make sense of it. So it seemed quite an apt name at the time. It started as just an idea, which is now snowballed, and I find that just over 6 months later, I've been shortlisted as a digital hero for the TalkTalk Awards, which is amazing. A bit overwhelming, I have to say, especially as the competition's so fierce. But I'm really excited about it, and that if we win, the difference that the £5,000 would make to Blurt. I thought I'd let you know what we would plan to spend the money on if we win. First of all, we'd like to increase the training for all of our volunteers. Blurt's volunteer-led. Everybody works for free in their spare time, including me and my husband Dominic. In the evenings, we sort of assign mentees to mentors, do all the CRB checks, do some mentoring ourselves, and obviously brainstorm for the future of Blurt. All of the volunteers that fill out an application form, and then we CRB check them, and we also sort of oversee the mentoring that they're doing. We'd like to use the £5,000 to develop a training programme so that they actually go to workshops and to have better literature packs and just more information to help them. We try to assign the mentees to mentors who have had similar experiences. The volunteers aren't allowed to counsel or advise. They're just there for someone for you to talk to, a friend at the other end of your laptop, your computer, who can make suggestions that you can just offload to when you're feeling really, really down. And sometimes you don't want to burden them with those closest to you, which is why Blurt is also for people affected by depression. So you might be somebody that lives with someone with depression, and you don't know if you're doing the right things. You'll find it really hard to cope. You feel guilty that it might be because of you. You should contact us too, because lots of our volunteers are those, such as my husband Dominic, who've never had depression but do know how to live with somebody that does. One of the things that we really, really want to do with Blurt as well is to try and tackle the stigma. If we were to win, we would like to develop an education programme we've got in our minds to secondary schools and universities. We believe that the only way the stigma can be fought is by starting with younger children, teenagers really, getting them talking about depression and mental illness, and to educate them that it doesn't mean that you're a psycho, it doesn't mean that you're leper, anything like that. It just means you're just ill, like you would be if you had a broken leg. So we have started to develop an education programme which would initially like to roll out to schools in the southwest, but one day our dream is obviously that this would be a national programme. So I guess the main reason I'm putting myself completely out of my comfort zone and making this video is because I'd like you to vote for me, please. The link will come up on the screen in a minute, and I appreciate every single vote. Thank you ever so much. Bye bye.